The ultrasound picture fluttered to the floor in pieces, and with it, every dream Zara had ever had. "This baby isn't mine," Minjun said, his cold eyes burning through her like ice and fire combined. She wanted to scream that he was wrong, that this child was his miracle. But how could she prove it to a man who'd already made up his mind? What she didn't know was that his cruelty was born from a lie that would haunt them both for years to come. This is the story of Zara Mitchell and Minjun Kang, a love that bloomed in secret, shattered in cruelty, and somehow found its way back when he finally discovered the truth that changed everything. Zara Mitchell should have known better than to fall for a man like Minjun Kang. Everyone in the city knew his name, whispered it with a mixture of fear and respect. The Korean Mafia boss who controlled half the underground economy, who wore custom suits that cost more than her monthly rent, who could silence a room with nothing but his presence. Her best friend Diana had warned her the night they met at the Bellissimo charity gala. "Zara, that's Minjun Kang," Diana hissed, gripping her arm as Zara started to walk toward the bar where he stood alone, somehow commanding the entire space despite his isolation. "That man is dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Zara asked, unable to tear her eyes away from him. He was beautiful in a way that seemed almost unfair. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that held secrets, an elegant posture that spoke of power and control. "Dangerous in every way that matters," Diana said. "He runs the Kang Syndicate, import, export, and everything the police can't prove in between. That charity check he's about to write? Probably laundered money. Stay away from him." But Zara couldn't stay away. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom and something electric passed between them. Recognition, curiosity, desire. He didn't smile, didn't wave, didn't give any indication that he'd noticed her beyond that single, searing look. But 10 minutes later, when she excused herself to the balcony for air, he was already there, leaning against the railing like he'd been waiting for her his entire life. "You're Zara Mitchell," he said, his voice low and accented, each word carefully pronounced. "From Morrison Marketing, you handled the publicity for this event." "You've done your research," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady even as her heart hammered against her ribs. "I always research things that interest me." He turned to face her fully, and the moonlight caught the sharp planes of his face. "And you interest me very much." "I hear you're a dangerous man, Minjun Kang." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "I hear you're a smart woman, Zara Mitchell. Smart enough to know that danger and safety are sometimes just matters of perspective." "And what's your perspective?" "That the most dangerous thing in the city tonight isn't me," he said, stepping closer. "It's the way you're looking at me like you're not afraid." "Should I be afraid?" "Probably." His hand came up, fingers barely grazing her cheek in a touch so gentle it contradicted everything she'd heard about him. "But I hope you're not." That was how it started, with moonlight and honesty, with a dangerous man admitting his danger, and a smart woman choosing him anyway. Their relationship developed in secret over the next 3 months. Minjun would send a car for her after work, and she'd find herself in his penthouse overlooking the city, sharing wine and conversation that stretched long into the night. He was nothing like what she'd expected. Yes, he was powerful and controlled, always aware of his surroundings, always calculating. But he was also surprisingly vulnerable with her. He told her about growing up in Seoul, about his father's empire and the legacy he'd inherited too young. He told her about the loneliness of power, about how people either feared him or wanted something from him, but no one just wanted him. He quoted Korean poetry, remembered how she took her coffee, and looked at her like she was the only person in the world. "Why me?" she asked one night, lying in his arms after they'd made love for the first time. "You could have anyone." "Because you see me," he said simply, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder. "Not the boss, not the reputation, not the money, just me. I see all of it, she corrected gently. I'm not naive about who you are, Minjun. I know. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. That's why I trust you. You see everything, and you're still here. She should have asked him then what he saw when he looked at her. Should have asked if he loved her. If she was more than just a beautiful distraction from his dangerous life. But she was afraid of the answer, so she stayed silent and let herself believe that what they had was real. The night everything changed started like any other. Zara had been feeling off for a few weeks. Exhausted, nauseous, emotional in ways that didn't feel like her. Diana had been the one to suggest the pregnancy test, and when those two pink lines appeared, Zara's entire world had tilted on its axis. She was pregnant. With Minjun Kong's baby. She'd spent 3 days deciding what to do, how to tell him, whether to tell him at all. They'd never discussed children, never talked about a future beyond the next stolen evening together. But despite the secrecy of their relationship, despite the danger that surrounded him, Zara found herself hoping. Maybe this baby would be the thing that finally brought them into the light. Maybe he'd want this family as much as she suddenly, desperately did. She made a doctor's appointment, got the ultrasound, and held that grainy black and white image like it was the most precious thing in the world. Their baby. A tiny miracle growing inside her. That evening, she dressed carefully. The blue dress he loved, her hair down the way he preferred. She rehearsed what she'd say 100 times in the car ride to his penthouse. Minjun was expecting her. They'd planned a quiet dinner together, just the two of them. When she arrived, he was waiting with wine, and that rare, soft smile he reserved only for her. You look beautiful, he said, pulling her into his arms. Minjun, I need to tell you something. Her voice shook despite her best efforts to keep it steady. You're trembling. He pulled back, concern flickering across his face. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. At least, I don't think it is. She took a deep breath and pulled the ultrasound from her purse, holding it out to him with shaking hands. I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. The change in him was instantaneous and terrifying. His face went completely blank, all warmth draining away as if it had never existed. He took the ultrasound from her, stared at it for a long moment, and then something dark and cold settled over his features, an expression she'd never seen him wear, not even in his most guarded moments. This isn't mine, he said, his voice flat and emotionless. Zara felt like she'd been slapped. What? Minjun, of course it's yours. I haven't been with anyone else. I'm infertile, Zara. He cut her off, each word precise and cutting. I had mumps when I was 15. Severe case. The doctors told me I would likely never father children, so whoever's baby this is, it's not mine. That's not… Minjun, please, listen to me. I trusted you. His voice was rising now, anger breaking through the ice. I let you into my life, into my heart, and this is what you do? You sleep with someone else and try to trap me with their baby. I didn't. Tears were streaming down her face now. Minjun, I swear to you, there's no one else. There's never been anyone else since we started. Liar. He tore the ultrasound in half, then in half again, the pieces fluttering to the expensive hardwood floor like broken dreams. Get out. Please, just get tested. If you get tested, you'll see. Get out! He roared, and for the first time since she'd known him, Zara was actually afraid. Not of physical violence. She knew instinctively he'd never hurt her that way, but of the cold fury in his eyes, the absolute conviction that she'd betrayed him. Minjun. Jackson. He called for his right-hand man. Escort Ms. Mitchell out. She's no longer welcome here. Jackson appeared almost immediately, looking uncomfortable as he glanced between them. Boss. Now, Jackson. Zara wanted to fight, wanted to scream, wanted to fall to her knees and beg him to listen. But the man standing before her wasn't the Minjun who'd held her and told her she was the only one who truly saw him. This was the Mafia boss, The dangerous man everyone had warned her about, and he'd already made his decision. She bent down with shaking hands and gathered the torn pieces of the ultrasound. "I'm telling you the truth," she said quietly, "and someday, you're going to realize what you've done. I just hope it doesn't destroy you the way this is destroying me." She walked out of his penthouse with her head high and her heart in pieces, and she didn't look back. The next 3 months were the hardest of Zara's life. She tried to reach Minjun, called, texted, even showed up at his office building once. But he'd blocked her number, and his security had clear instructions not to let her through. She sent him letters begging him to get a paternity test, to just talk to her, to give her a chance to prove the truth. He never responded. Diana was her rock through it all, holding her while she cried, helping her make impossible decisions about her future. "You could terminate," Diana said gently one evening, after Zara had thrown up for the 3rd time that day. "No one would blame you, given everything that's happened." "I can't," Zara whispered, her hand instinctively going to her still flat stomach. "I love this baby, Diana. Even if he doesn't want us, I want her. I already love her so much." "Then we'll figure it out," Diana promised. "You and me and this baby, we'll make it work." But Zara knew she couldn't stay in the city. Everywhere she looked, she saw reminders of Minjun, the restaurant where they'd had their first real date, the art gallery where he'd kissed her for the first time, the skyline dominated by buildings he owned. She needed a fresh start. Somewhere she could raise her child without the ghost of what might have been haunting every corner. She found a job in Portland, a smaller city, better cost of living, and 3,000 miles away from Minjun Kang and the life they might have had. Morrison Marketing was sorry to lose her but understanding when she explained she needed a change. Diana cried when she left but promised to visit. Portland was rainy and green and nothing like the life Zara had known. She rented a small house in a family-friendly neighborhood, threw herself into her new job, and tried not to think about the man who'd thrown her away. Her daughter was born on a cold February morning, tiny and perfect, and so beautiful that Zara sobbed the first time she held her. "She has his eyes," the nurse commented gently, and Zara's heart broke all over again because it was true. Those dark, intense eyes that seemed to see everything. That was all Minjun. She named her Sua, beautiful excellence. It was a Korean name, and Diana had questioned the choice. "Are you sure?" she asked, visiting for the birth. "After everything he did, she deserves to know her heritage," Zara said firmly. "Minjun made his choice, but that doesn't change who she is. She's half Korean, and I want her to be proud of that." "You're a better woman than I am," Diana said. "I'm just a mother who loves her daughter." The years passed in a blur of first words and first steps, of preschool plays and bedtime stories. Zara built a good life for them. Not easy, but good. She advanced in her career, becoming a senior marketing director. She made friends in Portland, joined a single mother support group, created a stable, loving home for Sua. But she never dated. Never even wanted to. How could she, when every man she met was measured against the memory of Minjun Kang and found wanting? She told herself she was fine alone, that Sua was enough. That she didn't need a man to be complete. Mostly, it was even true. Sua grew into a beautiful, brilliant little girl with her father's intensity and her mother's warmth. She was curious about everything, stubborn when she believed she was right, and fiercely loving with the people she trusted. She asked about her father sometimes, and Zara always answered honestly, age-appropriately. "Your daddy and I loved each other very much," she'd say. "But sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. He made a big mistake, and that's why he's not with us." "Does he know about me?" Sua asked once when she was 4. "Not really, baby. If he knew about me, would he want me?" The question broke Zara's heart. "Any man would be lucky to have you as a daughter, Sua. You're extraordinary." It wasn't a real answer, but it was the best she could do. Meanwhile, across the country, Minjun Kong was living his own version of hell. He'd tried to forget Zara, buried himself in work, expanded his empire, took meetings and made deals, and pretended that the hollowness in his chest didn't exist. Jackson watched him with worried eyes but knew better than to mention her name. The one time he'd tried, 6 months after Zara left, Minjun had nearly taken his head off. She tried to trap me with another man's child, he'd snarled. I don't want to hear her name again. Boss, what if you're wrong? Jackson had dared to ask. What if... I'm not wrong. The doctors were clear. I can't have children. But despite his certainty, he couldn't quite let her go. He kept tabs on her. Knew when she moved to Portland. Knew about her new job. Knew about the baby girl she'd named Soo-ah, a Korean name. That detail had haunted him for reasons he didn't want to examine. He told himself he was just making sure she was okay, that it was his responsibility even if the child wasn't his. But late at night, alone in the penthouse that had never felt the same after she left, he'd wonder, what if she'd been telling the truth? What if she really hadn't been with anyone else? But no, the doctors had been clear. He was infertile. The baby couldn't be his. He repeated it to himself like a mantra, but it never quite silenced the doubt. Part 3. When Past and Present Collide. 5 years after she'd left, Zara's company sent her back to her old city for a major client pitch. It's just 3 days, her boss assured her. You'll fly in Monday, present Tuesday, fly back Wednesday. Quick and painless. Painless. Right. Zara had almost declined, but she was a senior director now, and this client was huge. She couldn't let her past dictate her professional future. Besides, it was a big city. The chances of running into Minjun were minimal. She brought Soo-ah with her. It was close to her daughter's spring break, and she couldn't bear to be away from her for 3 days. Diana had moved back to the city 2 years ago and offered to watch her during the business meetings. I can't wait to see her, Diana gushed over the phone. It's been too long since Auntie Diana got Soo-ah time. The flight was uneventful. Soo-ah chattered the whole way, excited about the airplane, about seeing Auntie Diana, about staying in a hotel. Will we see my daddy? She asked as they waited for their luggage. Zara's heart clenched. I don't think so, baby. It's a big city. And we'll be very busy. Oh. Soo-ah looked disappointed but bounced back quickly as children do. Can we get pizza for dinner? Absolutely. Diana met them at the hotel, sweeping Soo-ah into a huge hug. Look at you. You're so big. And so beautiful. Auntie Diana. Soo-ah giggled, hugging her back fiercely. Over Soo-ah's head, Diana met Zara's eyes. You okay? She mouthed. Zara nodded even though they both knew it was a lie. The next evening was the client event, a networking mixer at the Grand Celestial Hotel, where Zara would schmooze with potential clients and hopefully close several deals. Diana had Soo-ah for the evening with plans for movies and popcorn. Zara dressed carefully in an emerald green dress that made her brown skin glow, styled her natural hair in elegant curls, and tried to pretend her hands weren't shaking as she applied her lipstick. You've got this, she told her reflection. You're Zara Mitchell. You're successful. You're strong. And you don't need anyone. The pep talk helped. A little. The mixer was in full swing when she arrived. Elegant people in elegant clothes, making elegant conversation over elegant champagne. Zara slipped into professional mode easily. This was her element now. She worked the room, made connections, laughed at appropriate jokes, and successfully avoided thinking about Minjun for almost an entire hour. And then, she saw him. He was across the room, tall and commanding in a black suit, his hair slightly longer than she remembered, but his posture exactly the same. He was talking to a group of businessmen, his expression politely interested but distant, and Zara's entire world tilted. 5 years. 5 years since she'd seen him, and her body still recognized him on some fundamental level. Her heart raced, her palms went sweaty, and every instinct screamed at her to run. But she was frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to do anything but stare at the man who destroyed her and never looked back. And then, as if he felt her gaze, Minjun looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and Zara watched recognition flare in his dark eyes. He went completely still, his conversation forgotten, and even from this distance she could see the shock on his face. She should leave, should turn around and walk out before this got complicated. But her feet wouldn't move, and she couldn't tear her eyes away from him. Minjun excused himself from his group and started walking toward her with that same predatory grace she remembered. Zara's fight-or-flight response finally kicked in, and she chose flight, turning quickly and heading for the hallway outside the ballroom. She'd made it maybe 20 feet when his hand caught her arm. Zara. His voice was exactly the same, low, accented, and it sent shivers down her spine despite everything. Let me go, Minjun. She didn't turn around, couldn't bear to look at him up close. Please, just talk to me for a moment. We have nothing to talk about. Zara, please. There was something raw in his voice, something that sounded almost like pain. I know I have no right to ask, but please, 5 minutes. She should say no, should walk away and protect her heart the way she'd learned to do over 5 long years. But she'd loved this man once, and apparently, some part of her still responded to the plea in his voice. 5 minutes, she said, finally turning to face him. He was even more beautiful than she remembered, but there was something harder about him now, something that spoke of loneliness and regret. His eyes roamed her face like he was memorizing her features. You look well, he said softly. What do you want, Minjun? He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered well. I wanted to apologize for how I handled things. I was cruel, and you didn't deserve that. No, I didn't. Zara kept her voice cool, detached. But that was 5 years ago. I've moved on. Have you? His eyes were intense on hers. Because I haven't. I've thought about you every day. Wondered if I made a mistake. You did make a mistake. She cut him off. You made the worst mistake possible. You threw away something real because you were too proud and too stubborn to even consider that you might be wrong. The doctors said, I don't care what the doctors said. Her composure cracked, pain and anger flooding through. I told you the truth, Minjun. I begged you to get tested, to give me a chance to prove it, and you refused. You chose to believe I was a liar and a cheat, rather than question your own assumptions. I know. His voice was quiet. I know I failed you. I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. That I regret it. Your regret doesn't change anything, Zara said. It doesn't give me back the 5 years I spent raising our daughter alone. It doesn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep. It doesn't... She stopped abruptly, realizing what she'd just said. Minjun had gone completely still. What did you just say? Nothing, I need to go. Zara. His hand shot out, gripping her arm gently but firmly. Did you say our daughter? Let me go, Minjun. You kept the baby. It wasn't a question. His face had gone pale. You had the baby and you kept her. Of course I kept her. Zara jerked her arm free. Did you think I was lying about that too? I loved her from the moment I knew she existed, and I wasn't going to give her up just because her father was too blind to see the truth. Where is she? His voice was urgent now. Where's the child? Far away from you, Zara said coldly. You made it very clear you wanted nothing to do with us. I'm not going to let you hurt her the way you hurt me. Zara, please. But she was already walking away, her heart pounding and her eyes burning with tears she refused to shed. She made it to the bathroom before she broke down, locking herself in a stall and sobbing quietly into her hands. She'd been so stupid. So stupid. She shouldn't have come back to this city. Shouldn't have engaged with him. Should have just walked away the moment she saw him. When she finally composed herself and returned to the ballroom, Minjun was gone. Zara tried to focus on networking, on the reason she was here, but her heart wasn't in it anymore. She left early, claiming a headache, and returned to the hotel. Diana was still up when she got back. Su-ah asleep in the bedroom of their suite. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Diana said, concern written all over her face. "Worse," Zara said. "I saw Minjun." "Oh, honey." Diana pulled her into a hug. "What happened?" Zara told her everything. The conversation, the apology, the slip about Su-ah. "Does he know she's here? In the city?" Diana asked. "I don't think so. I didn't tell him." "But Diana, the look in his eyes when I mentioned her." Zara's voice broke. "He looked devastated." "Good," Diana said fiercely. "He should be devastated. He threw you both away." I know that. So why do I feel guilty?" "Because you're a good person with a kind heart, even when dealing with people who don't deserve your kindness." Zara checked on Su-ah before bed, watching her daughter sleep peacefully, her little chest rising and falling steadily. She looked so much like Minjun it was almost painful. The same dark hair, the same facial structure, the same intensity even in sleep. "I'll protect you, baby," Zara whispered. "I won't let anyone hurt you." But even as she made the promise, she had a sinking feeling that this was far from over. The next morning, Zara's presentation went perfectly. She closed 2 major deals and had 3 more pending, and her boss was ecstatic. She should have been celebrating. Instead, all she could think about was getting back to Portland and putting distance between herself and Minjun again. She was packing up her things at the hotel, Su-ah helping by very seriously folding her own tiny clothes, when Diana called. "Zara, don't panic, but what happened?" Zara's heart immediately started racing. "Su-ah and I went to get breakfast at that cafe down the street, and Minjun is here." Zara's blood ran cold. "What?" "He's sitting by himself in the corner and, Zara, he's staring at Su-ah. I don't think he knows I'm with her, but the way he's looking at her." Diana's voice was shaky. "Zara, she looks just like him. There's no way he doesn't see it." "I'm coming now. Don't let her out of your sight." Zara grabbed her jacket and ran, her heart pounding with fear and anger and something else she didn't want to name. The cafe was only 2 blocks from the hotel, but it felt like miles. She burst through the door, immediately scanning the space. Diana was at a table by the window with Su-ah, who was happily eating pancakes. And in the corner, exactly as Diana had said, sat Minjun Kang. He was staring at Su-ah with an expression of absolute shock, his coffee forgotten in front of him. Zara's first instinct was to grab her daughter and run, but Su-ah had already spotted her. "Mommy!" She waved enthusiastically. "Come have pancakes." Zara forced herself to walk calmly to their table, very deliberately not looking at Minjun. But she could feel his eyes on her, could sense the moment when understanding finally hit him. She'd barely sat down when he appeared at their table. "Zara." His voice was rough, strained. "Is this?" "Not here," she said quietly, her eyes darting to Su-ah, who was looking at the tall stranger with curious eyes. "Who are you?" Su-ah asked with the blunt honesty of a 5-year-old. Minjun looked down at her, and Zara watched his face transform. Shock, wonder, recognition all playing across his features. When he spoke, his voice shook. "My name is Minjun." "That's a Korean name," Su-ah said. "Like mine, I'm Su-ah." "Su-ah," he repeated, and there were actual tears in his eyes. "Beautiful excellence." "That's what it means." "How did you know?" "Because I speak Korean too." Su-ah's eyes went wide. "Really? Mommy's been teaching me, but she says she's not very good at it." "Maybe I could help," Minjun said, and then his eyes rose to meet Zara's. "If your mother would allow it." Minjun, Zara said, her voice tight with warning. We need to talk. Privately. Yes. He couldn't seem to stop looking at Su'a, drinking in every detail of her face. Yes, we do. Diana, bless her, immediately understood. Su'a, baby, why don't you and I go look at the pastries? We should get some for later. Okay? Su'a bounced out of her seat, taking Diana's hand. The moment they were out of earshot, Minjun sank into the chair Diana had vacated. She's mine, he said, and it wasn't a question. Yes. She has my eyes, my face, the way she holds her head. His voice broke. Zara, she's mine. I told you that 5 years ago, Zara said, struggling to keep her voice even. You didn't believe me. I need a paternity test. The words hit her like a slap. Are you serious? You can look at her and still... Not because I doubt you, he interrupted, because I need to understand. The doctors told me I was infertile, Zara. I've believed that for 15 years. If she's mine, if I was wrong, I need to know why. I need to understand what I did. Zara wanted to refuse, wanted to deny him even this small thing, but she could see the anguish in his eyes, and despite everything, she understood. He'd built his entire rejection of her and their child on his supposed infertility. If that was wrong, everything else was wrong too. Fine, she said. We'll do a paternity test, but Minjun, whether the test confirms what we both already know or not, this doesn't change anything. You gave up your rights to her 5 years ago. I made a mistake, he said, his voice raw. The biggest mistake of my life. Please, Zara, give me a chance to... To what? To break her heart the way you broke mine? To decide in a few months or a few years that fatherhood is too hard and walk away again? I won't let you hurt her, Minjun. I won't. I would never... You already did. Her voice rose despite her best efforts to keep it down. You hurt us both, Minjun. You threw us away like we meant nothing. And now you want me to just let you back into our lives because you've suddenly realized you might have been wrong? It doesn't work that way. Minjun reached across the table, his hand covering hers. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I don't deserve a second chance. But please, please don't punish me by keeping me from my daughter. If she's mine, she is yours, Zara said, pulling her hand away. But that doesn't make you her father. Being a father takes more than DNA, Minjun. It takes showing up, being there, putting her first. Things you've never done. Then let me start now, he pleaded. Let me prove to you that I can be the father she deserves. Zara looked over at Su'a, who was laughing at something Diana was saying, completely oblivious to the conversation happening just feet away. Her beautiful, brilliant daughter who'd grown up without a father because the man in front of her had been too proud to see the truth. We'll do the paternity test, she said finally, and after that, we'll see. But Minjun, if you hurt her, if you let her get attached and then disappear, I will make sure you regret it. Do you understand me? I understand. His eyes were fierce with determination. And I swear to you, Zara, I will never hurt her. Or you. Not again. We'll see, Zara said, because promises were easy to make and much harder to keep, and she'd learned that lesson the hardest way possible. Part 4. The truth that changes everything. The paternity test was scheduled for the next day, before Zara and Su'a's flight back to Portland. Minjun had offered to pay for them to stay longer, to give them time to process the results together, but Zara had refused. We're leaving tomorrow as planned, she'd said firmly. You'll get the results sent to you. Will you tell her? He'd asked. About me? I don't know yet. Let's just get through the test first. Su'a had been confused but cooperative when Zara explained they needed to go to a doctor for a quick checkup. But I'm not sick, she'd said. It's just a precaution, baby. Remember that tall man we met? Minjun? He's going to be there too. Su'a had brightened immediately. Oh good. I liked him. He seemed nice. Zara's heart had clenched. Already her daughter was drawn to Minjun. Already she could see the potential for heartbreak. The clinic Minjun had chosen was private and discreet, designed for people who needed confidentiality. He was already there when they arrived, pacing the waiting room like a caged animal. Zara, Su-ah. He knelt down to Su-ah's level. Thank you for coming. Are you sick too? Su-ah asked with a child's concern. No, sweetheart. The doctor just needs to check something. The test itself was quick and painless, just a cheek swab for each of them. Su-ah was brave, chattering to the nurse about her favorite cartoons while the sample was collected. Minjun watched every moment like he was trying to memorize it. Results in 24 hours, the doctor told them. We'll send them to both email addresses you provided. Outside the clinic, Minjun stopped them. Can I? He hesitated, looking uncertain in a way Zara had never seen. Can I take you both to lunch? I'd like to get to know Su-ah if you'll allow it. Zara wanted to say no, wanted to protect her daughter from any more exposure to this man who might disappear from their lives just as quickly as he'd entered. But Su-ah was looking at her with hopeful eyes, and Zara found she couldn't refuse. Just lunch, she said. And then we need to pack. Just lunch, he agreed. Minjun took them to a family-friendly Korean restaurant, and Zara watched in amazement as her serious, controlled mafia boss transformed into someone warm and gentle with Su-ah. He taught her how to use chopsticks, told her stories about Korea, asked her about her favorite things with genuine interest. I like to draw, Su-ah told him, and I'm learning piano, and I love to read. Mommy reads to me every night. What kind of books do you like? Minjun asked. Adventure stories and fairy tales, but not the boring ones where the princess just waits to be rescued. I like the ones where she saves herself. Minjun's eyes met Zara's across the table, something soft and warm in his expression. Your mother raised you well. Mommy's the best, Su-ah said matter-of-factly. She works really hard and she's really smart, and she gives the best hugs. I believe that, Minjun said quietly. Watching them together was both beautiful and painful. Su-ah was so hungry for male attention, for a father figure, and Minjun seemed equally entranced by this little girl who was undeniably his. But Zara couldn't let herself hope. Not yet. Not when there were still so many questions unanswered. When lunch ended, Su-ah hugged Minjun goodbye without hesitation. Will I see you again? She asked. He looked to Zara, a question in his eyes. Zara gave the slightest nod. Yes, he said. If your mother allows it, I'd like to see you again very much. Okay, bye Minjun. After Su-ah skipped ahead to where Diana was waiting, Minjun caught Zara's arm. Thank you, he said, for today. For letting me spend time with her. Don't make me regret it, Zara said. I won't. I promise you, Zara, I won't. The flight back to Portland the next day felt surreal. Zara kept checking her phone, waiting for the email with the test results. Su-ah chattered about Minjun the whole flight, and Zara's heart ached with every word. Do you think he'll visit us in Portland? Su-ah asked. I don't know, baby. I hope so. I really liked him. Su-ah, sweetheart, I need to tell you something. Zara took a deep breath. You know how you've asked about your daddy? Su-ah's eyes went wide. Is Minjun my daddy? Kids were too perceptive. We're not sure yet, but it's possible. I knew it. Su-ah bounced in her seat. I felt it. When I looked at him, I felt like I knew him. Baby, listen to me. Even if he is your biological father, that doesn't mean I have a daddy. Su-ah breathed, wonder in her voice. I have a daddy, and he's nice, and he speaks Korean, and he liked my stories. Zara pulled her daughter close, blinking back tears. Let's just wait and see what the test says, okay? But she already knew. Had known from the moment Minjun had looked at Su-ah. The test was just a formality. The email came through just as they landed, marked urgent, from the clinic. Zara's hands shook as she opened it. Paternity test results. 99.999% probability of paternity. Minjun Kang was definitively, unquestionably Su-a's father. Zara sat in the airport terminal, staring at her phone screen, as 5 years of pain and anger and loneliness crashed over her all at once. He'd thrown her away. He'd called her a liar. He'd torn up the ultrasound and refused to even consider that she might be telling the truth. And she had been telling the truth. The whole time. Her phone rang. Minjun calling. She let it go to voicemail. Then he called again. And again. Finally, she answered. Did you get the results? His voice was strained. Yes. Zara, I need to see you. I need to explain. Explain what, Minjun? The results just confirm what I told you 5 years ago. There's nothing to explain. There is. I need... Zara, I went to see my old doctor. The one who told me I was infertile. Despite herself, Zara found herself listening. He pulled my files, Minjun continued, his words tumbling over each other. The original diagnosis. Zara, they never said I was definitely infertile. They said severe mumps could cause fertility issues. That it might be difficult for me to father children naturally. Might. Could. But I heard what I expected to hear. What I was afraid of hearing. I took their worst-case scenario and made it my reality. Zara closed her eyes. So, you destroyed us over a misunderstanding. I destroyed us over my own fear and pride, he said, his voice breaking. I was so convinced that I couldn't have children that when you told me you were pregnant, I couldn't see past my own damage to believe you, and I'm sorry. God, Zara, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 5 years, Zara said, tears streaming down her face. Sorry doesn't erase the nights I spent alone and terrified, wondering how I was going to do this by myself. Sorry doesn't... I know. He was crying too. She could hear it in his voice. I know it doesn't. But please, please let me try to make this right. Let me be the father Su-a deserves, the partner you deserved 5 years ago. Partner. Zara laughed bitterly. Minjun, we can't just... I still love you, he said desperately. I never stopped. For 5 years I've been half alive, going through the motions, telling myself I did the right thing. But I didn't. I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me, and I know I don't deserve another chance. But I'm begging you for one anyway. Zara looked at Su-a, who was watching her with worried eyes. I need time, she said finally. This is all. It's too much. Too fast. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, Minjun said. I'll wait. However long it takes, I'll wait. After she hung up, Su-a climbed into her lap. Was that my daddy? She asked. Yes, baby. That was your daddy. Is he sad? Very sad. He made a big mistake a long time ago, and now he's very sorry. Can we help him feel better? Zara held her daughter close, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. I don't know yet, Su-a. I just don't know. Part 5. Redemption isn't easy. Minjun appeared in Portland a week later. He didn't call ahead, didn't ask permission. Just showed up at Zara's door on a Saturday morning with uncertainty written all over his face. You can't just... Zara started when she opened the door and found him standing there. I know I can't. I know I should have called. But I couldn't stay away, Zara. Not from her. Not from you. Daddy! Su-a's voice rang out from behind Zara, and before Zara could stop her, she was barreling past and launching herself at Minjun. He caught her instinctively, his face transforming with wonder as he held his daughter for the first time as her father. Su-a, he breathed. My Su-a. You came. Mommy said I had to be patient, that we needed to give you time, but you came. Over Sua's head, Minjun's eyes met Zara's. I came, he said. If you'll have me, in whatever capacity you'll allow. Zara wanted to be strong, wanted to protect her heart, but the sight of them together, father and daughter finally united, broke something open inside her. Come in, she said quietly. We should talk. Minjun spent the day with them. He played with Sua, admired her drawings, listened to her play piano. He was patient and gentle and everything a father should be, and watching it made Zara's heart hurt. When Sua finally went down for a nap, exhausted from excitement, Minjun and Zara sat in her small living room with the weight of 5 years between them. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Minjun said. I'm not even sure I deserve forgiveness, but I am asking you to let me try, to let me be part of Sua's life. And what does that look like? Zara asked. You live across the country, Minjun. You run a criminal empire. What kind of life can you offer her? I'm moving here, he said simply. Zara stared at him. What? I'm relocating my operations to Portland. Jackson can handle things on the East Coast. I've already put in an offer on a house 3 blocks from here. You can't just uproot your entire life. Watch me. His eyes were fierce. I lost 5 years with my daughter because of my own stupidity. I'm not losing another day. If she's here, I'm here. Minjun, I know you don't trust me, he interrupted. I know I have to earn that. But let me try, Zara. Let me prove that I can be the father she needs. The man you deserved. This isn't about us, Zara said firmly. You and me. That's over. But if you're serious about being in Sua's life, we need to establish boundaries. Whatever you want, he said immediately. Whatever makes you comfortable. They spent the next hour hashing out an agreement. Minjun would start with supervised visits. A few hours at a time, always with Zara present. He'd see a therapist to work through his issues with trust and control. He'd be transparent about his business dealings and keep Sua far away from anything dangerous. If you hurt her, Zara said, if you disappoint her, or let her down, or make her feel like she's not enough, I won't, he promised. Zara, I swear on everything I am, I won't. The first few weeks were awkward. Minjun was trying too hard, bringing expensive gifts that Zara made him return, planning elaborate outings that exhausted Sua. But gradually, he found his rhythm. He learned that Sua preferred simple things, trips to the park, reading stories, baking cookies together. He learned her bedtime routine, her favorite foods, the way she liked her hair braided. And watching him learn to be a father, Zara felt something shifting inside her. The anger was still there. She didn't think it would ever fully disappear, but it was joined by something else. Hope, maybe. Or the memory of why she'd loved him in the first place. Minjun was patient with her, too. He never pushed, never assumed, never tried to reclaim the intimacy they'd once shared. He was respectful and kind and present in ways she'd never expected. I'm not trying to win you back, he told her one evening after Sua had gone to bed. They were cleaning up from dinner, moving around her small kitchen with surprising ease. I know I don't deserve that. I just want you to know that I see you. Everything you've done, everything you've sacrificed to raise our daughter, I see it, and I'm in awe of you. Zara's hands stilled in the dishwater. Minjun, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. But his words stayed with her, warming something cold that had lived in her chest for 5 years. 3 months into their new arrangement, Sua asked the question Zara had been dreading. Why don't you and Daddy live together like other families? They were having breakfast. Minjun had started joining them for Saturday morning pancakes, and the question hung in the air like a grenade. Because we're not, Zara started. Because Daddy made a mistake a long time ago, Minjun said gently. And he hurt Mommy very badly. So even though we both love you very much, we need to take things slow. But do you love each other? Suah asked with a child's directness. Minjun's eyes found Zara's across the table. I love your mother very much, he said quietly. I always have. Zara's breath caught. They hadn't talked about this, hadn't acknowledged the feelings that sometimes sparked between them when their hands brushed or their eyes met. Mommy. Suah turned to her. Do you love Daddy? It's complicated, baby, Zara said. Because what else could she say? That yes, some traitorous part of her still loved him? That watching him with their daughter made her remember everything they could have had? After breakfast, while Suah was watching cartoons, Minjun caught Zara's hand. I meant what I said, he told her. I love you, Zara. I never stopped. And I know you're not ready to hear that. Might never be ready. But I needed to say it. Minjun. Her voice was shaking. I can't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You hurt me so badly. I know. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. And I'll spend the rest of my life making up for that, whether we're together or not. Part 6. When danger comes calling, everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. Zara was at work when her phone rang. Jackson, Minjun's right-hand man, calling from an unknown number. Ms. Mitchell, don't panic, but we have a situation. Her blood ran cold. What kind of situation? There's been a threat against Minjun's family. We've had intelligence that one of his rivals has learned about Suah. The world tilted. Where's my daughter? Already secure. Minjun picked her up from school himself. He's with her now at a safe location. But we need you to come in. We need to move you both somewhere protected until we handle this. Zara didn't remember the drive. One moment she was in her office. The next, she was being escorted into an unmarked building downtown. Minjun was waiting for her, Suah in his arms. Mommy. Suah reached for her, and Zara grabbed her daughter, holding her so tight. She's okay, Minjun said, his voice steady but his eyes dark with fury. I got to her in time. She's safe. Safe? Zara turned on him, still clutching Suah. You said you'd keep her out of your world. You promised. I did keep her out, he said. But my world found her anyway. I'm sorry, Zara. I'm so sorry. Jackson stepped forward. The threat is credible. Kim Tae-young found out about your daughter and is planning to use her as leverage. We need to move both of you to a secure location immediately. No. Zara's voice was firm. We're going back to our house and we're leaving. We'll go somewhere he can't find us. Zara, please. Minjun started. You did this, she shouted, and Suah began to cry. Immediately, Zara softened her voice, rocking her daughter. Shh, baby, it's okay. Mommy's sorry for yelling. I'm scared. Suah whimpered. I know, sweetheart, but you're safe. Daddy and I will keep you safe. Minjun looked like she'd struck him. The casual use of daddy in this context, the implication that they were a team. Let me protect you, he said quietly. Both of you. Please. Why should I trust you? Zara asked, but there was less heat in her voice now. You said she'd be safe. And she will be. I have a plan, but I need you to trust me. Zara looked at her daughter's tear-stained face, at the fear in her eyes, and knew she didn't have a choice. What kind of plan? Minjun's jaw tightened. I'm getting out. Jackson's head whipped around. Boss, I'm out. Minjun repeated. I'll sell my operations to the Lee family. They've been trying to buy me out for years. I'll give them everything except my legitimate holdings. And then we disappear. You can't just... Jackson started. Watch me. Minjun's eyes never left Zara's face. I choose them, Jax. I choose my family. Minjun, that's your entire life, Zara said. Your empire, your legacy. Means nothing without you and Suah. He stepped closer. I lost you once because I was too stupid to see what mattered. I won't make that mistake again. My empire or my family. It's not even a choice. Zara felt tears burning her eyes. And Kim Tae-yang? The threat? Will be handled, Minjun said, his voice taking on a hard edge. Permanently. I'll make sure neither of you are ever threatened again. Over the next 48 hours, Zara watched Minjun systematically dismantle the empire he'd spent his life building. He sold his operations, transferred his assets, and made it clear to everyone in his world that he was out, and that his family was off limits. They stayed in a safe house during this time, the three of them together in close quarters. And something shifted between Zara and Minjun. She watched him sacrifice everything for them, watched him put Sue-ah first without hesitation, watched him become the man she'd once believed he could be. The night before they were set to move to a new city, new names, new lives, complete protection, Minjun found Zara on the balcony. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too much on my mind." They stood in silence for a moment, the city lights spread out before them. "Are you sure about this?" Zara asked. "Giving up everything?" "I'm sure about you," he said simply. "And Sua. The rest is just details." "Minjun, She turned to face him. "I need you to know something. When you chose us, when you walked away from your empire without hesitation, I saw who you really are, who you've always been, underneath everything else." "Zara?" "I'm not saying I forgive you," she interrupted. "The pain of what you did, it's still there. But I'm saying I see you trying, and I see you succeeding. And maybe someday." He cupped her face gently. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here." "I know you will," she said, "and that's what makes the difference." Epilogue. Beautiful excellence. 2 years later. The beach house in Northern California was everything Zara had dreamed of. Bright and airy, with windows that overlooked the ocean and enough room for Sua to run and play. Minjun had bought it under his new name, Marcus Kim, and they'd built a life here that felt almost normal. Minjun worked as a business consultant now, using his strategic mind for legitimate purposes. Zara had transferred to a local marketing firm and was thriving. And Sua, beautiful, brilliant Sua, was happy and safe and loved. They weren't married. Zara still wasn't ready for that, and Minjun respected her boundaries. But they lived together, co-parented together, and slowly, carefully, were finding their way back to each other. "Mommy, Daddy, come see what I found." Sua's voice rang out from the beach. They walked out together, hand in hand. When had that started? To find Sua holding a perfectly intact sand dollar. "It's beautiful," Zara said, kneeling beside her daughter. "Like its finder," Minjun added, ruffling Sua's hair. As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Sua ran ahead to collect more treasures. Minjun pulled Zara close, and for once, she let herself lean into him. "Happy?" he asked. "Getting there," she admitted. "You?" "More than I ever thought I'd be." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For giving me another chance. For letting me be part of this." Zara thought about the ultrasound he'd torn apart 7 years ago, about the cruel words and the wasted years. The pain was still there. She didn't think it would ever fully disappear. But it was joined now by something stronger. Hope, healing, and the knowledge that some mistakes, no matter how terrible, could be overcome. "Thank you for choosing us," she said quietly. "Every time," he promised, "every single time." "Mommy, Daddy, come here." Sua was waving frantically from down the beach. They ran to her together. This family they'd built from broken pieces, and as Zara watched Minjun swing their daughter into the air, her laughter ringing out across the waves, she felt something settle in her chest. Maybe she wasn't ready to forgive him completely. Maybe she never would be. But she was ready to build something new. not a replacement for what they'd lost, but something different, something stronger, something real. And that was enough. Hey guys, I hope this story touched your heart as much as it touched mine to share it. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are fighting battles we know nothing about, and sometimes, just sometimes, they find their way back to what matters. If you enjoyed Minjun and Zara's journey, please hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more stories about love, redemption, and second chances. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Zara should fully forgive Minjun, or are some mistakes too big to completely move past? Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.